Hey there, and welcome. So, Side Effects is holding a new Houdini art challenge called Mardini, which is starting on the 1st of March. The idea of it is to create an artwork in Houdini based on a daily prompt. That prompt is basically just a theme to base your artwork around. It's open to anyone who would like to enter, and if you do enter, it doesn't have to be every day. Last year, there were prizes for Best Daily, Best Weekly, Best Collection, Best Overall Artwork, and for entering every day. So, as you may know, I won Best Collection in last year's Who Lie Art Challenge, and I've decided to do a daily review video for each day's entries. I'm going to be talking about the winning entries, what makes them so good, and then I'm also going to be talking about some of the other entries. I'll go over what I like about them, what I think could maybe be changed, and how they could have been winning entries in my opinion. So if you'd like me to review your entry, feel free to tag me on Instagram at 9_between. So with all of that comes a bit of a disclaimer. Everything that I'm saying here is my own opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just trying to give a critique that the artist can work from and hopefully something that you can learn from as well. I'm not trying to make fun of or insult or belittle any of the artists. I'm merely just trying to give some feedback in an entertaining way. So let's get straight into it. In third place in the images category is this entry from Takuya Okada for Day 9 Beach. So they've set a lovely mood with this image. They have this image in the background that's providing all of this light. So as you can see, it reflects on the surface of the water. Over here, you can see that the chairs and the palm trees also reflect on the water. All of these elements make it feel very comfortable and warm. They have these two beach chairs and the umbrella with the two palm trees, so they've set their scene quite well. They've also saved themselves some time by just using a ocean spectrum on a grid and relying on most of the detail coming from the image in the background. Also, their lighting does suit the scene. It's a very soft light, a late afternoon or evening light, so they did a great job with that. The only thing I maybe would have liked to have seen is some variation in the shot. So variation in ocean spectrum, so maybe there's areas of more calm water and slightly more choppy waves over here. And then on the actual beach, maybe you have things like a coconut. You can do it with just a sphere. Scatter some points for little shells and things. Just something that gives it a bit of variation. I think that would make it awesome. But other than that, I think this is a great entry. So well done to Takuya Okada. In second place, we have this awesome entry by Ayub Ha. And what they've done here is great. So they have this bottle, they've put this Mardini font on it so that it's not just a regular bottle. So that's a nice touch, firstly. But then you actually have a great level of detail inside of this bottle. They have this rock over here with a bit of grass. They have the beach, and they have all of this ocean over here. They've got these two whales, and this is a great touch because they're adding little bits of detail. This is what I feel was missing from that third place entry. It's just small details, like the little bit of grass, the whales in the water, because they could have easily left that out, right? You can leave out the whales, you can leave out the grass, just have the beach and the water in the bottle. But what they've done is excellent. They also have a lot of good detail in the background, and this is generated from a texture map. Their lighting is good, it does match the scene. Everything about this is great. The cork texture looks good. Can't say anything bad about this, really. I think it's an excellent entry. And in first place, we have this trash. I don't really have anything good to say about it. I think whoever made this should uninstall Houdini. They should leave and join a small Amish community so they can't hurt anyone with their digital atrocities any longer. Yeah. Time for Mardini review. I'm just messing. This is my brother's entry. He's the other half of 9between. And I think this is his first entry into one of these daily challenges. I think maybe he got jealous of my Hulai shirt and he wanted his own Mardini shirt. But yeah, he's been in 3D a lot longer than I have. I've just been working in Houdini a little bit longer than he has, but he's got a lot of experience in modeling, texturing, and lighting. And he's also the one with the background in photography. So this is why I tell people that they should learn about photography concepts, right? Learn about optics, because it allows you to make entries like this. Because in my opinion, this looks pretty much real. And so I'll go over a couple of things that I think makes it look so good. Firstly, the actual shell. There's an incredible level of detail. If you look anywhere on the shell, right, there's sort of little crevices and cracks, and there's a lot to look at on the shell. He also has subsurface scattering. So you can see that in all of these areas that sort of stand away from the surface, where the light passes through it. It gives you that sort of peach color. towards the edges as the light shines through this, and you get the same effect over there. He's got very accurate shallow depth of field because the shell would probably be, under 30 centimeters. All of this in the background where it's extremely shallow depth of field is accurate. Remember, shallow depth of field is scale dependent. Another thing that he included in the render was chromatic aberration. If you look at the edge of the shell, there's a slight blueness to it. That's chromatic aberration. You can also see it quite clearly on all of these little stones over here. So that's chromatic aberration. That gets added in the render. He rendered this in Karma. His idea was to actually have it as a simulation, and then he would have used Redshift, but he wanted to sort of have some sea foam that comes up from the side here and sort of pushes up against the shell and then recedes back in. But then, he kind of figured that there's a lot of complexity to that because foam kind of rolls over itself. It doesn't exactly act like a fluid. So yeah, it was just, I think, too much to do in the time. But what he did instead was the shell, he modeled it in Houdini, textured it in Substance, brought it back in, and then all of this detail that you see in the foreground, all these little rocks and things, this is about 2 million points that get scattered onto the small area. And then he uses instancing in Solaris to sort of instance little rocks and things like that, all with different scales and different colors. You can see there's some like black speckling, and then there's more of like the brown ones and more reddish stones, more white stones. So there's a good variation in that. And so this level of detail makes it seem realistic. He's also got a great lighting setup going on where there's a bit of bloom over here. That slight bloom makes it seem a bit more realistic as well. The shadow is not too harsh. This is a fairly realistic shadow for this sort of lighting. There's lots of extra little details, things like the bubbles over there and in the water. Once again, just instancing some, spheres to those areas. Additionally, this is something else I forgot to mention. It's also got this area where it's wet on the ground. So all of this looks like sort of wet sand. It's slightly more dark. You can see that this is more rough and this is more reflective. Yeah, so I can't really say anything bad about this, mostly because I don't think I could improve this in any way. And I know that for a fact because he is just better than me at modeling, texturing, and lighting. So yeah, that's his entry, Mujtaba of Line Between, or Muchi on the forums. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. In third place in the animation category, we have this entry by Zed. And I'm so happy to see that Zed has won one. Really deserve it. And this is an awesome entry. The simulation is great. Lighting is awesome. Your framing is good. So you've improved your framing quite nicely. There's nothing distracting in the shot. Everything about this looks awesome. So this where it topples over, lands on its face, breaks up. Very nice simulation. I like that there's variation in your grains. Just all of that variation looks great. The light source is accurate. It's realistic. I don't really have anything bad to say about this, man. Like this is a great entry. I don't really know what I could suggest about this. I think that this is a brilliant entry. So yeah, man, keep up the great work. Lovely entry by Zed. In second place, we have this entry by Beazle, and this is beautiful. It's so nice to look at. So they were very smart about this because fluid simulation can be, a bit of a pain, especially in a daily challenge. They went for fluid dynamics, but they didn't render it as a fluid. So this sort of movement, I assume, is actually a fairly viscous fluid simulation. The way it moves does look like fluid. Then what I assume they did is they just used some of the points and they sort of instanced these spheres to it. And this bioluminescent look is incredible. You can see that it slightly lights up the rock. They did a great job of not taking away from this by adding areas that are too bright. There's a little bit of brightness on the rock over here, but that's great. It makes the scene feel more realistic and fleshed out because there is something to anchor it, right? This doesn't feel like it exists in a void. This rock is a very nice touch to have. The shallow depth of field is a brilliant touch because you end up with this bokeh. I'll have a little bit of a description of bokeh up, but yeah, bokeh is just this sort of out of focus blur that you have. And it looks beautiful when it's applied to lights. So I love that there's variation in the light colors. It just looks so good when you have the bokeh. I believe there's even variation in intensity. That's way more intense than any of those over there or there. So yeah, lovely entry by Beazle. I think that this one is awesome. And in first place in the animation category, we have this entry by Carl Drifter. And he managed to do proper simulation. So props to him. Like, that's impressive that he managed to do a full sort of ocean simulation, white water type thing. The actual beach that he has over here, great level of detail. I love these little specks and things, little dips that he has over there. He's also done a great job of making it look realistic. The lighting is accurate as far as I can tell. The roughness is good. It's not too rough. He's also gone with chromatic aberration. This is something that you'll notice quite often where people sort of finesse the shot with a bit of chromatic aberration, that blue-red color split in the edges. And then the actual squab up front is wonderful. He's got a bit of sand stuck to him, and then he sort of gets pushed around. So the camera shake is maybe a little bit hectic, but you know what, it looks good anyways. So I think this is a cool entry. The fact that he managed to do ocean simulation and the fact that he has this that's actually interacting with the ocean simulation, all of that is impressive. I think that this is a great entry. So nice one. Wonderful entry by Carl Drifter. Time for Mardini review. For today's honorable mention, I honestly think it is this entry, just because I really love the conceptual idea. You know, the shark swimming around in the sand. And even the simulation itself looks great. They also did a pretty good job of blending the simulation into the rest of the sand. So yeah, I think that this is a special mention entry where I think that it could have won. I think maybe just a few minor changes to the composition, maybe a slightly bigger fin, one like this also. And then have it fairly nicely detailed so it looks like a shark fin, because you might not really get the idea of these being shark fins when they're so small. So make it a bit more menacing by scaling it up, and then you just have the same sort of simulation quality where you have this rolling behind it. And then I think that this is entirely a winning entry. So yeah, awesome stuff by Thomas Klein Christensen. This entry by Soul Cage DPT, I think that this is very nice. Also, there's good variation in color and things between the grains. They have this sort of sand castle type thing. Very nice background, shadow depth of field. All the boxes are ticked on this one as well. I do think that this is a great entry. I'm not really sure how you could improve this. It does look quite realistic. There's good lighting. So I think maybe the conceptual idea is where this falls short, but overall it looks great. Don't really have anything bad to say about it. I think that maybe it's just too simple of an idea. But the idea was executed brilliantly. This is a very nice shot. Very, very kawaii. This is like anime Patrick Star. It's very cute. This entry by AB. Maybe I give a little bit of feedback because they got a lot of good things going on here. I can't tell how many light sources they have. Based on this ball over here, it could be 2. That's hitting this. I think it is maybe just 2 light sources. And for that reason, I think they should maybe make adjustments firstly to the light sources before anything else. Another idea that you could do is add a very, very fine bump map to all of this. So it maybe looks like grains, but it isn't actually grains. You can do that just with a bump noise if this is rendered in Mantra. So these 3 objects, there's no real problem with them. The issue mainly lies in the lighting. It's far too uniform. It just looks like a single light hitting everything. And it's all like a single color light. So I think a good move would be to use an HDRI that has a bit of a bluish tinge to it, and then maybe throw in this light that you have here and make it slightly warmer, so a more orangish light. And then, as I mentioned, very slight bump on all of the sand. But otherwise, I think your composition and everything looks good. Maybe this was just let down a little bit by the lighting. So with a few tweaks to lighting, I think this could look awesome. Nice entry from AB. I hope that helps you a bit. This entry from Jay Reichman is also very nice. Good variation in the grains, nice little sand castle that they got going. I think the only place that this kind of falls short is the water. Even that I'm not so sure about. You know, there's a good shadow depth of field. The lighting on this is great. This is the sort of lighting that I was talking about in the previous entry. Even the sort of bump, that's what I was talking about. This might actually be grains, I can't really tell. I don't think it is. But you can actually get away with doing a bump map, or AB if you're watching this. This is the kind of thing that I had in mind. We have a sort of bluish diffuse light on most of the sides, and then this warmer orange light hitting the other side. Lovely wet map and attention to detail. I think this is an awesome entry. I think maybe just check out some reference for the water. I think that's the only place where this kind of falls short. So that's it for today's review. I hope this was helpful and entertaining. I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye.